Hey, buddy.
Raw.
Hey, man, that's a sweet heavy metal happy hour t-shirt. Where'd you pick that up?
Thanks, dude. I got it at the Toxic Radio shop.
Toxic Radio has a shop?
Yeah, dude. It's in the app or online at toxicradio.net.
That is sweet.
Yeah, and I also got a rockin' Toxic Radio hoodie and a Red Band Underground shirt. Dude, I'm gonna look so rockin' at the party tomorrow.
Well, I think you look pretty now.
Oh, wait, what?
The Toxic Radio shop is a place to get all your Toxic Radio gear. Shirts, hoodies, stickers. Find it at toxicradio.net or on the app. Don't buy it safe. Buy it toxic. Hey, where you going, man?
Enjoying all that Toxic Radio has to offer? Well, make sure you like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Be the first to find out about ticket giveaways, amazing guests, awesome contests, and Toxic Radio events. Just search Toxic Radio Live, all one word, and press that little button. Every time you do, someone here at Toxic Radio will get their wings. Yay! Well, not really. Aww. But we will get a warm, fuzzy feeling in our tummies. But then again, that just might be the beer. Anyway, like and follow us, and we will see you out there on the interwebs.
All sports talk shows are the same, right?
I am bothered by everything.
You gotta go back to football school.
You call on this guy, it's just immeasurable.
Wrong. In a world filled with talking heads more interested in their own celebrity than actually knowing the sports world, it's hard to find the people who really care about sports first. Look no further. Wire2Wire has it all covered. These guys have the knowledge and the cred to back up their opinions. No hot takes to get attention, just straight up opinions. Know anyone else who correctly called the 2020 World Series and March Madness? How about 70% on the NFL and NCAA football last year? You don't. Bottom line, these guys know their shit. They aren't doing it for attention, they're doing it for passion. Wire2Wire, live every Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern, only on Toxic Radio and wherever you find podcasts.
Welcome to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. Welcome back. I'm your host, Gene Walzak, the NFL genius. Coming through us remote, both parties. I have the man, the myth, the legend, Uncle Shally, Bill Shallcross.
What's up, bud?
Spitting gems last night on the diamond again. Guy is
I'm
just
trying.
in fuego. Coming from us remote, also from Columbus, Ohio, we got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, the college man, College Cottrell.
What's going on, guys?
What's popping? Brand new whip just hopped in. Ready? Are y'all ready for a banger tonight? I'm hype. I'm hype, as usual.
Oh, I am.
What am I not hype?
True.
So we got a ton to get into. We're going to talk about NBA playoffs. We got the Preakness. We got PGA, the NFL schedule. But I figured last week was started. I got a little gloating in my face, little spray at me, I was getting beat up. But today I get to start by announcing the winner of the Wire2Wire Sports Podcast, greatest movie of all time for sports. And that winner, the listeners spoke. They heard the arguments, they knew the debates, and our winner is Remember the Titans over the Sandlot. The listeners had a 10-vote difference, so it eliminated the 5-vote difference that you guys had up on me going into it. So it was without a shadow of a doubt the number one movie, Remember the Titans. A round of applause, everyone.
Give him a golf clap.
No, but I just wanted to announce that we'll obviously have some more brackets and more things coming at you. We're also almost signed a huge event that will be very funny, but it's not done yet, so we'll spoil it. Let's just say one of our listeners says they can beat a WNBA player in a game of basketball, and you know what? I make shit happen. It might not be a WNBA player, but a collegiate athlete versus Kevin the Troll is almost signed. and I'll just leave it there. We will live stream it too, and edit the clips and post on TikTok. But we got to get in the NBA, guys. We got to get. Hey, by the way, any thoughts of the movie bracket finals? Let me just stop there.
I mean, Remember the Titans, a great movie. You get no arguments from me there. You know, I'm not gonna be bitter that The Sandlot didn't win. Remember the Titans, a great movie. It lost to an opponent that was more than formidable.
Touche, Bill.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, they're two great movies in their own right. I'm not mad that I remember the Titans won. I'm just glad that we got it right down to that point. We had two great movies in the final, so I feel like the bracket was a success.
Oh, definitely
Maybe,
success. And shout out to you, bro. Shout out to you for putting all the work in and putting the regions together. No joke. Like, that was a lot of work, and Bill did the lion's share of that. So great job, dude.
Sandlot might have its revenge in the next one. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. But let's get into the NBA playoffs. I feel like it would be wrong if we didn't start by recapping the two previous series. I know we're already one game into the conference finals, but we got to recap what happened. Things happened Thursday. Things happened Friday. One of them being the Philadelphia 76ers losing in Game 6 to the Miami Heat. And I wanted to start talking about that because I feel like that's going to be a good debate, good conversation piece. I have a lot of strong thoughts on this series. I predicted the Sixers to lose the series in 7 to Miami. I thought they'd win Game 6 and lose Game 7. I was wrong there. But, you know, I think all three of us predicted Miami to win the series. So, Bill, why don't we start with you? What were your thoughts on Sixers Heat? And then I'll get into a couple of things that were said after the game.
I mean, listen, I think it was, I think JoJo got hurt at a really bad time. I think he looked tired in the last couple games, you know, but you have to give the guy all the credit in the world for playing through it. I mean, at that point, he's playing through concussion effects. He's got a torn tendon in his thumb. He's got a broken orbital bone, and he's out there gutting it out. You know, he didn't play great, but if anybody had an excuse on that team, it was him. I still don't like how he flops around all the time. I hate that, but I'm not going to be super critical of him for gutting it out and trying to do what he did. For the rest of the team, they just didn't show up. I mean, that's the easiest way to put it. And I thought that was going to be the most disappointing performance of the weekend. You know, another team said, hold my beer, but we'll get to that later. I just, listen, we've talked about it. I will say from listening to sports talk radio, I think we're a little bit more honest about the Sixers than other shows are. And I don't think that's going to change today. That team has holes. That team has problems. And they need to be addressed before next season. That team is not built to win. I don't care how you want to slice it. You know, I don't, you know, you can make whatever argument you want to make. James Harden is not what he was 5 years ago. Everybody was really excited when we got him. I was impressed by the trade, and I was just more than happy that the Ben saga was over more than anything. But I guess in the short term, you're going to say we won the trade. There's just no way going forward we could pay James Harden $45 million to play for this basketball team next year. Other than, you know, and I'm one of Toby's biggest fans. If they have a trade for Toby that makes sense, I think they have to pull the trigger on it. And other than JoJo and Maxey, I'm not committed to anybody on this team next year. Everybody else on this team is tradable. And that includes Harden, that includes Matisse. Anything that can improve this team, I think Morey has his work cut out for him. We need a bench. Danny Green is not going to be an option next year. He's going to miss most of the season, if not all of it. That's a devastating knee injury, which sucked because, I mean, you could argue he's playing the best basketball of the season in the playoffs. He came up huge for him. You're not going to have him next year. They have things to address. So, I mean, Daryl Morey's going to have to own his money. It's back to show me time for Morey for me.
Cottrell, your thoughts on the series? There's a lot of things I want to touch on, Bill, but I'll wait and I want to get Cottrell's opinion and I'll touch on a lot of what you just said.
So thoughts on the series? I mean, the series kind of went exactly how I would say we all thought it was going to go. We might not have got the exact number of games right, but I mean, the Miami Heat was just a better team. I think that was clear from the jump, especially when you have Embiid that missed the first 2 games and he came back. And even before that, he had some injuries that was just nagging him throughout the playoffs. And we knew what we were getting out of James Harden, or I should say we knew what we weren't getting out of James Harden in the playoffs. He had the one spurt where he had the 30-point game, but outside of that, he just wasn't the James Harden that we're used to, kind of like what Bill was already alluding to earlier. As for them moving on, I don't think there's any way that you can not have James Harden on your team next year. I think, well, part of the problem is that he's just going to opt into his contract, and I don't think anyone at this point would trade for James Harden at the $47 million price tag that he's going to opt into for next year. The other thing, though, too, is that although, James wasn't as productive as you want him to be in the playoffs, he's still one of those special players. And he's not the special kind of player that he was in Houston. He's not going to give you, a 60-point triple-double any given night. He's not that guy. But you can still build around James Harden and Joel Embiid and be championship contenders. The problem is you have to get those guys to play together. They have to man up and be those guys in the playoffs. We just haven't seen Joel and James Harden, step up and as Chuck and Kenny and those guys on TNT said, be the bus drivers in the playoff series. They haven't been that guy yet, but you can absolutely build around those two and compete for a championship.
That's fair points from both of you guys. I want to comment on a lot of it. First thing I want to say is that I'm disappointed in Joel Embiid. I'm disappointed in him. I understand we're going to give him excuses and because he was hurt and everything that happened. But where I'm disappointed in him most is his leadership. Listen, I understand him fighting through injury, torn thumb, broken orbital, concussion syndromes. I don't understand throwing your teammates under the bus for a second straight year. Last year I gave him a pass, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons, got that pass because there's so many people that question his integrity, his will to win, his heart. So to me, it was a one-off, right? It's a one-off when you're attacking one of your teammates and throwing them under the bus. This year, it was a whole nother level of that. I'll start with the fact that he said everyone expects James Harden to be the James of Houston. He's not that. He's just a playmaker. He's not the same James as he was in Houston. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. I don't need you to spell that out for me and throw your teammate who's literally looking for a contract under the bus. I don't like that. I'm not the biggest Harden fan. I've never been the biggest Harden fan. I didn't like Harden before Harden came to the Sixers. He's a Sixer. I'm going to root for him. I'm going to try my best to root for him. But I was disappointed in the way he reacted to that. Also disappointed in the way where he said how much he preferred to be playing with Jimmy Butler, how much he preferred to have a tough guy like PJ Tucker. When asked about toughness and Tobias Harris, he said, well, I mean, it could be his mental toughness or his physical. They were just more physical than we were. As another teammate he threw under the bus. I don't like that. I don't. You have bad games. You have bad games to the team. You're supposed to be the leader. I don't see leadership attributes in Joel. With that being said, he's the best player on the team. So I thought the perfect marriage for him was a guy like Jimmy Butler. Because Joel could be your best player and Jimmy could be your leader. Could be the guy that, you look to in those moments. Joel openly campaigned for Bradley Beal this year behind closed doors. He openly campaigned for Bradley Beal. James Harden was their second option. They wanted Bradley Beal. Hopefully this offseason we can get a big three in here that involves moving Tobias Harris out of town. Either you get James Harden at a lower rate or you get rid of him. You have to have another superstar around Joel. You have to have an alpha dog. So I'll start there. Second, Doc Rivers gets second in my blame. James Harden's bronze medal in this. He's nowhere near, to me, the top of the podium. Doc Rivers, if you watch how stagnant the 76ers offense looked in the second half of Game 6. It was like they didn't know where to go with the ball. Cottrell, you watch basketball just as much as me, if not more. You know basketball just as much as me, if not more. What offense were they running in the second half? Were they running screen and rolls? Pick and rolls? No, I'm serious. I'm not trying to be an asshole. What were they running in the second half of that game?
They were running, I mean, the best way to put it would be hero ball. That's what kind of offense there. It was just get out the way. Let everybody go one-on-one. We're getting our asses kicked right now. Let's just all try to go get buckets. Let's not run anything. Let's just try to score by ourselves.
They ran ISO ball for 7 straight possessions. I counted them in the second half when they're down 8 points, 11 points, 15 points. 7 straight possessions. They ran ISO ball. 3 of them were turnovers, and not one of them resulted in a basket. They were not running an offense. That goes on, and you get in the huddle, right? I love the TNT thing. They get you in the huddle. You can hear what did Doc Rivers say to them in the huddle?
A bunch of nothing.
You got to keep playing. You just got to keep playing. What the fuck are we talking about? I was so floored what they did in the second half of that game. And it's not just that game. It was a lot in that entire series. Listen, if we want to be honest with ourselves, right? Danny Green bailed them out in Game 3 with 7 threes. James Harden bailed them out in Game 4 with 30 points and an absurd effort. Like an effort that you didn't see all year except that game.
Yep.
That's the 2 games they won. The role players were non-existent. The rotations were rotations that we didn't run all year. And this is why we were mad at Brett Brown. We didn't run these rotations all year, and then we ran them in the playoffs. It did not make sense. Matisse was in your starting lineup all year. Because of the Toronto COVID issue and the 2 games he couldn't play up in Toronto, Matisse is no longer playing. It's Danny Green, which is fine. I'm okay. But these are rotations you didn't run all year. It doesn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense. It didn't.
It's nothing new with Doc, though. It's nothing new with Doc. We saw it last year in the playoffs.
And I follow. And I give Miami Heat credit. Their role players played really great in Miami. And in Game 6, they showed up and played well in Philadelphia. But with that being said, Jimmy Butler continues to prove to Philadelphia that we made the wrong decision by choosing Brett and Ben over Jimmy Butler. I was vocal about it then. I'll be vocal about it now. I would took Jimmy Butler over Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, and Brett Brown. You could have shipped them all out for all I care if you just give me Jimmy. That's who I wanted. That's who I felt like the Sixers should have stayed with. And I'll get into more, but your thoughts on that, Bill?
I mean,
Trell?
yeah, I mean, Jimmy definitely was a hindsight, of course, and I know you were adamant about it at the time being that you wanted Jimmy instead of both those guys. And I feel like I would have been on the same boat at that point just because we know what Jimmy is. Jimmy ascends in the playoffs. He may not be that guy that leads you throughout the season, but that's what Joel's for. Once the playoffs comes, Jimmy Butler, he gets that chip on his shoulder and he's like, all right, if we need some things to happen, he can light it up and turn it on offensively and defensively. And I think that's a big part of it too, is that he's the quarterback of that Miami Heat defense, essentially. He's making sure everybody's in the right spot. He's the one, he keeps his eyes out on the passing lanes. We saw it last night in the game where he's just running through passing lanes and getting steals and creating points off turnover. So Jimmy Butler is such a key piece to teams, and that's just on the court. Off the court, where he's going at guys and getting the most out of the teammates that he has, he just brings so many intangibles to a team and helps them win. I mean, the Sixers definitely messed that up by letting him get out of town.
Bill, can I ask you a question? Just a fun question.
Sure.
If they gave you, Bill Shawcross, 0 general management experience in the NBA, in basketball, period. You run a pretty competitive softball team. If they gave you the reins of the 76ers in 2014, when they took it away from Sam Hinkie, they gave it to you, you think it's possible that you could have done worse than this organization did in the last 6 years?
Probably not.
It's impossible.
This is, yeah. I mean, this touches on the conversation me and you were having after they lost, and to go back to some of the points you made. I didn't bring up the interview stuff and anything because I knew you were going to touch on it, and I agree wholeheartedly with you. I didn't like it last year, and that was one of the things I was critical of JoJo about last year. I wanted Doc gone last year. I was on the record with that. I think people have to realize just how good that Boston team was that he won the title with. That I think he could get in a huddle and say, just keep playing, and that shit worked because they were just better than teams. I disagree with you with Harden. This team's not going to win a championship with James Harden on the roster. Not at what he's making now. I mean, if he wants to come back for $10 million and we can go add another max player, then maybe. But the way it's structured right now, if he opts in, this team's not winning a championship next year. They're just not. They don't have the flexibility. They don't have the money to improve the bench. It's just not there. He's going to take up too much of the role of the payroll. He's got to go. Again, I was glad we got him to get Ben out of town. He's not the answer. And I'm pretty adamant when I say it's got to be JoJo and Maxey going forward. You keep Toby until somebody offers you something that makes sense. And then when that's the case, then you let him go. Other than that, how many years are we giving Matisse?
I don't know. I don't know that. I think Matisse is exactly what he is. He's a defensive specialist. He's a Bruce Bowen-esque player.
Okay, but then if you're surrounded by 4 dominant scorers, you can play him. If not, he can't be a starter. I said it all year. We were going to go to the playoffs, and we were going to be in the same boat we were with last year with Ben. You're going to be playing 4-on-5 on offense. You're going to have a guy that's not going to shoot, that they're not going to cover, that they're not scared of. And at that point, Ben still was doing more things. You can't have a guy playing 25 minutes, scoring 2 points, just running around playing defense. Sorry, I know everybody loves
the
him.
Problem.
But
The problem though is how are you going to talk a team into trading for James Harden at the price tag of $47 million going into a contract year? Like, what's your selling point there to get somebody to take James Harden off your hands?
I got you. Can I answer?
You're hopeful. Well, before Gene goes, hopefully he's going to hear something from somebody saying they're going to offer him a multi-year deal. Morey has to make it very known that we're just not extending him. And then you got to hope somebody's going to offer him like 3 years, $90 million, and he jumps at it.
Bad teams need to hit the floor. And a bad team that you pay them a first-round draft pick with James Harden might do that because they need to hit the floor. So a bad team that doesn't have contract money will take that money if they're in a rebuilding time. And if James Harden wants to come play, that's fine. If he doesn't want to come play, that's fine. They'll take the first-round draft pick that comes with him. You'll have to pay a team a first-round draft pick to take that $47 million.
The problem, though, is that normally that works because if a team like the Sixers, typically, you get rid of James Harden, you're going to stink. Sixers aren't going to stink. They're going to be a good playoff team because they have some other plans of getting somebody else back. So I don't know if taking on a player at close to $50 million and a late first-round pick is worth the investment of having James Harden may or may not play for you, no matter how bad you are.
I think in the NBA, there's at least 7 to 10 franchises that will take James Harden at $47 million. You might not believe that. Yes.
Yeah,
you might not
believe.
They'll
take James at 47 before Westbrook at 44.
Yeah. I believe
you don't make that trade, though.
No. I think that if they wanted to move him, they would. I don't think they will. Daryl Morey has literally like a canvas painting of James Harden in his office. It's a statue in front of his house. It's absurd. But I do not want to get past this series without giving credit to where credit is due. 2 things I need to absolutely give credit. Obviously, we know Jimmy Butler. I don't need to add on that. You guys have touched on that. Jimmy Butler killed it. But there's 2 things the Miami Heat did I thought was incredible. Number 1, I got to give credit to Bam Adebayo. The one thing I want to give him credit for is I don't know if you watched how hard JoJo had to work to try to get the ball. I think that's a lot of the reason why JoJo was so exhausted and spent and falling all over himself. I don't think his legs were under him. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that he lost his legs in that series because he was so spent. The sweat that was dripping off that man's face with the mask included, I think Bam Adebayo handled himself like unbelievable playing defensively. The second is PJ Tucker, man. PJ Tucker was exactly what you pay PJ Tucker to be. He was in someone's face. every time James Harden wasn't allowed to bring the ball up. He just wasn't allowed to. PJ Tucker was standing right in his face, not allowing him to touch the ball. You're going to have Maxey bring the ball up. I'm going to get you out of your comfort. We were at 17 seconds crossing the line every single time. And that might not mean much to some people, but it means something to the 76ers when you have to work just to get James Harden to touch the ball. I thought that those two defensive performances by Miami were special, and and it's no secret that PJ Tucker is back in the Eastern Conference Finals again with a different team.
I think a lot of that credit too should go to Coach Spo and just him making those adjustments, putting those guys in the right position. But absolutely, I agree 100% with what you said.
Name the adjustment, Cottrell. The adjustment's huge.
Which adjustment?
The Mitchell, Duncan Robinson adjustment. Duncan Robinson got $19 million.
Yeah.
And he's sitting on the bench because PJ Tucker is a better option, and that's what a good coach does. I don't care what you're getting paid. If one guy's a better option, he's playing.
And the thing is, too, is that for whatever reason, if Miami needs Duncan Robinson to come off the bench, I guarantee you he's going to be ready because Spo's telling them, like, hey, we don't need you right now, but there might be a moment where we need you. You got to come in and hit shots, and I'm sure Duncan Robinson's going to come off the bench and do exactly what Coach Spo needs him to do.
Agreed. Okay, so let's preview. Let's go to Western Conference first, and then we'll preview the two conference finals. I want to read this out loud.
Okay.
I want to read this out loud. Home teams in this series. Phoenix versus Dallas. Home teams in this series. Home team won by 7. Home team won by 20. Home team won by 9. Home team won by 10. Home team won by 30. Home team won by 27. Home team lost by 33. And it wasn't that close. If you think that game was a 33, it wasn't that. It was 50 points at one point.
Yep.
A 50-point game.
How does that happen on your home court in a game 7 is beyond me. Now,
not beyond me.
Okay, so you expected them to get beat by 50 points on their home court after you picked them on the show last week to win the series?
I didn't expect that to happen, but I seeing how it happened, I know how it happened.
Okay, let's hear it.
First off, we got to stop comparing Devin Booker to Kobe Bryant. Like, we got to stop the mama mentality. He's just not there yet. Like, no matter how much we see it in the regular season, no matter how much he wants to be, an asshole on the court, he's not Mamba yet. Like, he doesn't have that in him.
Obviously.
So we gotta just put that to rest. And I don't want to kill him because Devin Booker is an incredible player and he is still young. That was his first game 7, but when you shoot that poorly into game 7 and you come out on your home court and you don't look like you want to be there, you got to get some slack for that.
Before you get off that, I got to give Bill all the credit in the world. Bill set a line, I think it was last week, and we were talking about Kendall Jenner and the Kardashians, and Bill said, they don't miss. It's coming. Man. They don't miss. The day before Game 7, Kendall Jenner breaks up with Devin Booker. And then he goes 0 for 11 from the field in the first half. I don't know. Continue.
They've ruined men's lives.
Yeah.
So there's another part of the big three that I want to get on.
Here we go.
No, we're not there yet. We're leading up to it. We're going up the hill at this point. DeAndre Ayton, you're a guy who wants to get the Supermax. You're a guy that wants to get paid $200 million. And Game 7 happens. I get it. They're not getting your touches in the paint. They're not drawing up plays for you to get the ball and be successful in the paint. I 100% understand that. Dallas, for the most part, is running these small lineups. Sometimes they'll have Dwight Powell out there, but if Dwight Powell isn't out there, DeAndre Ayton is the biggest person on the floor. Go to the rim, grab some rebounds, get this attitude that you have because you're not getting the ball out your head. And honestly, that's probably why Monty Williams decided to sit him for the majority of the game, just because his attitude wasn't right. He didn't want to play, and so Monty is like, if you don't want to play, we're not going to play you. I don't care who you are. Which leads us to the captain of this ship, the point fraud, Chris Paul.
Oh,
This is a guy who you brought in who was supposed to be this catalyst. He's that veteran leadership guy. His playoff pedigree, if you will, is supposed to help guide these guys through the playoffs, and he is nowhere to be found for 3 quarters. And then you hear after the game that, oh, he had this quad injury that was, hampering him the past few games in the series. But in that fourth quarter, if you were still watching at that point, when they were down 50, Chris Paul started to get a rhythm. He had 9 in the fourth. He was shooting like there was no problems with him at all. And we hear after the game, it's, of course, and I do give Chris Paul his credit for this. He's not the one to go out there and make excuses. He didn't bring up anything about an injury, anything like that. But that's a guy who's supposed to get these guys going. Most of the people on that Suns team had no experience in a Game 7. Chris Paul has been there before. He couldn't light the fire from underneath him. He couldn't lead by example. And that's the problem with the Suns. They just don't have that guy to get them to where they need to be.
The fact that you call him the point fraud is literally hilarious, knowing that you're one of the biggest Dame Lillard fans. I'll start there. Second, listen,
He's
I
getting
agree,
there.
I
He's getting there.
agree. I agree with everything you said. Agree with everything you said. I just don't think you can act like the captain of the ship is the 37-year-old point guard when all year you've said the captain of the ship, Devin Booker. The coach of the year, Monty Williams, is on your bench. And the best player of the team, the best scorer on the team is Devin Booker all year, right? He's the one that got MVP votes, right? He went 0 for 11.
Yep.
Chris Paul is not a score-first point guard. That's not who he is. If I'm getting you a wide open shot and you're missing it, I'm going to look bad. Did he miss shots? Yes. Did he not show up for Game 7? Yes. They were down 30 in a blink of an eye, and Luka Doncic made them look silly. All of them. Where I think this series turned was at the end of Game 5 when Chris Paul and Devin Booker were literally taunting Luka Doncic. Luka, you see all the videos now? You talk a lot of tough shit when you're winning. You talk a lot of tough shit when you're up. They didn't touch the lead the rest of the series after that. Luka's different. He's not Bird, he's LeBron. He's not Bird, he's LeBron. He's different. And listen, I'm going to say it very, very clearly. That Mamba mentality bullshit with Devin Booker. I asked you guys last week, I said, how do you like the tough guy Devin Booker? Talking about like pushing around Jalen Brunson. Like, yeah, calling him soft, effing soft. I'm going to be honest with you, man. Devin Booker looks way softer to me than Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson's a tough kid, man. Tough kid. Nova strong. Just my opinion. Bill?
No, I mean, there's plenty of blame to go around in this game. DeAndre Ayton, I think you saw a lot of frustration.
He's gone, by the way. He's gone.
Yeah, he's not resigning there. So that kind of leads to one of my bigger points.
Push them in a hole.
Yeah, their championship window probably just closed with Chris Paul. We can debate that as much as you want. He's going to be another year older. I don't know if there's somebody of the caliber that's going to be available to fill the DeAndre Ayton role. You would think Booker comes back a little bit better next year. I mean, listen, man, they just got blown off the court. And to your point, Luka showed up for that game. If you want to say anybody had Mamba mentality in that game, it was Luka Doncic.
Facts.
He came on that court and he was going to win that game. And he let all three of them know about it too. That was the best part. You watched the game. He was staring down Chris Paul. He was staring down Devin Booker. He was just a man on a mission in a Game 7, and that's what you want, man. I mean, it's the only little bit of a point I'm going to push back on you, Eugene, is the whole, who's the leader of that team. Everybody could say Devin Booker's the best player. Every time they were on a national broadcast, man, everybody pumped up Chris Paul all year, and it's just I'm not going to say he's a point fraud. That's ridiculous. I know Cottrell's just trolling, but at the same degree, it's just another instance of him not getting it done. I'm not going to put it solely on his shoulders, but to some degree, it spans over different franchises and different years, different periods of his career. At some point, it stops being a coincidence. None of them showed up. I mean, that is, I said it in our group, on our page. That's the biggest no-show in Game 7 history that I can ever remember.
Ever.
Literally just ever. And I mean that. That's not a hot take. I can't figure out.
I got one that's close. Hockey.
Baseball, hockey.
Flyers Sabres. Game 7 in Philadelphia. It was an opening round. We lost 9-1. Just FYI, I'm just using that as another. But that's how bad it is. Sorry, I'm nuts. I watch too much sports.
No, I mean that was a little bit different. That was a series where we, through the course of that series, we lost 3 starters. There's a lot going on in that series. We were lucky to get to Game 7. Game 6 was one of the most crazy gut check wins for the Flyers ever. To lose by 50 on your home court, and literally the game was over at halftime. There was really 50, no point in watching.
Luka had 27. Phoenix had 27.
Yep, it was. You almost wanted to keep watching just to see how bad it was going to get,
and it got worse.
I did keep watching. I kept watching for that exact reason.
It did, and I really thought at some point, in the third quarter, maybe Phoenix would come out and just go on like a 10 or 12-0 run or something, make Dallas call a timeout, and maybe just show some heart and show some fire and see what happened. And then by the end of the third quarter, they're down by 50. And I was just like, this is a joke. Like, they don't care. I think all the contract stuff with DeAndre Ayton finally came to a head. He knows he's not playing there again. He literally was just like, fuck this. Like, you're not giving me the ball. I'm not going to play. I'm done.
To be fair, I did say last year after the NBA Finals that Phoenix's window was closed. I said that they would not be as good this year as they were last year. And I know they were the 1 seed. I understand everything that happened this year, but I said their window was closed last year. I said the West wouldn't be as soft as it was to get through the playoffs as it was last year. Last year, they played 3 teams, and one of their best players were out. They played the Lakers without AD. They played the Nuggets without Jamal Murray, and they played the Clippers without Kawhi. And they made it to the finals. I said that will not happen again this year. I said that on this show last year. Well, the end of the regular season. I want to take a couple comments real quick. Clivent Mitchell said Luka is a straight killer. Fire. I agree with him. Paul Gravitt. The window has someone's hand between it and the seal. We have 1 year left, but it's going to take one of the superstars that wants to play with Booker to come here in some sort of signing trade. The entire team at one point went full JV. That's a Phoenix Suns fan, Paul Gravitt, awesome guy. I look at that and I see a Phoenix team that just needs another dominant player. I don't think Chris Paul can be your point guard next year. It sounds crazy. He says he doesn't want to retire. I think he should. He's 37 years old. Let's hang it up.
He can still play at a high level. He just doesn't have anything left in the tank once it gets past game 65, 70, or whatever. That I don't know what the magic number is, maybe, but once it gets to that point,
set him for 50 games. I don't know.
And if you do that, 50,
but
I'm being sarcastic. I
think he'd have to go into load management next year, though.
Oh, huge.
Like, I don't think there's
super load management.
Yeah. He shouldn't play more than 65 games.
Real quick, let's get into the Eastern Conference and Western Conference Finals. I know where I feel strongest, and haven't really placed bets recently, and I have a lock for you guys as strong as I had versus Dallas Cowboys versus the Atlanta Falcons when I gave you that lock that I knew was going to hit. I know this is going to hit. I know it's going to hit. Okay. So what series do you want to start with, Cottrell? You start.
Western Conference.
Okay. Golden State will win that series, and they'll win that series pretty handily. I think they'll beat Dallas in 5. I think Luka will steal 1 in Game 3. My opinion. I think that Golden State's just too much. I think there's too much scoring. This is not going to be a series on how to stop Luka Doncic. It's going to be a series on there's too many people that score on Golden State. They're not going to try to stop you. And I think at least one time during the series, you'll see Draymond Green lined up almost an entire game with Luka.
Agreed.
I mean, the reports are that's how they're going to start tonight. So, I mean, that's apparently kind of their game plan. They're going to run Draymond at Luka. They know he's not going to stop him, but living them in somewhere in that 30 range. And then Gene, to your point, and Steph and Clay and everybody else are just going to do their thing on the other end. And I just don't think Dallas is going to score enough.
I got Golden State in 5.
Golden State in 6.
I also have Golden State in 5. I think it's just going to be a situation where Golden State has too many people to run at Luka. You're not going to stop Luka. Luka's a dominant player. But when you can throw Draymond at him, you can throw Clay at him, you can throw Wiggins at him, you can throw Kuminga at him, he's just not going to be as comfortable. Like I said, Luka's going to get his buckets no matter what, but it's going to come down to those Mavs Rose players hitting their shots, their open looks and things like that. And I think the Warriors play too good a team defense to allow them to have that many open looks. And I just don't think they're going to have enough ammo to take out that Warriors team.
I agree with you. What else needs to be said with this series? Because I really want to get into the other one.
I mean, I think we all think it's going to be whitewash. Seems like.
I think all the games are going to be close. I don't think there's going to be big swings like there was in Dallas and Phoenix. To both of your points, Golden State just plays basketball different than Phoenix does. It's not going to be much more of a half court game and things of that nature. Golden State wants to run up down the court and shoot the ball. And if as long as they don't have games where they shoot 20%, it's just going to be really hard for Dallas to keep pace. I mean, I think you're asking a lot out of Brunson and Finney-Smith and guys like that to constantly have to put up 20, 25 a game to keep pace with them. And that's what I think it's going to take. So I think Dallas definitely takes one at home, maybe steals one somewhere else. But, I think Golden State, if they play their brand of basketball and they play to the level that they're capable of, I think they win the series.
Tiny Williams on the wire line. Draymond Green will foul out in 2 of the games trying to defend Luka. I want to comment on that. Tiny, I love your comment. I think that Draymond will definitely pick up some fouls versus Luka. But Cottrell's comment is spot on. They have 4 guys they can run at Luka. Klay Thompson is a above average defender. I think that Luka will push him into the lane and be a little bit too strong for him. Andrew Wiggins is a lengthier defender. He's going to match him as far as height. Draymond Green's a stronger defender. And then Jonathan Kuminga is a lengthy defender. I don't think that will end up happening. I think Draymond might foul out of the game because he's nuts. But I don't think he'll foul out just trying to stick Luka. And I think that the thing that a lot of people miss, and here's your biggest buzzer. Thank you, Brandon. Ding, ding, ding. Here's your biggest buzzer. Luka Doncic has to guard one of them on the other end. And he's getting fresh feet at him the entire time. When you get fresh feet at you, Draymond, then Clay, then Kuminga, then Wiggins, those guys get to take possessions off sometimes on defense while the other one's sticking them. Luka has to guard Jordan Poole, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, or Wiggins every time down. He doesn't get a break because those guys can make him pay anytime he tries to take a possession off. I just want to be clear there that any one of those 4 can drop 30 in a game. And when you have to stick them, it's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever want to see, everybody looks at Steph Curry and looks at his greatness of him shooting the ball. If you ever want to look and watch how hard he works to get open sometimes, go on YouTube and just Google like Steph Curry coming off screens and watch through the course of any 2 or 3 possessions in a row how much Steph Curry runs all around the floor trying to get open. And I agree that I don't think Luka can guard Steph because I think Steph's going to run him into the ground if he does. He will have no legs by the end of the series whatsoever. Steph Curry is one of those guys that'll run 1,000 feet in the course of possession just to get a shot. You can't have Luka chasing him around, coming off screens, and doing all those things. That's a very good point. Like Luka cannot withstand that over the course of the series. So I don't think there's any shot Luka is covering Steph. I just don't see it.
I just used him as one of the examples, but I think.
Oh no, it's a very good point. But it goes.
You might catch him on a screen. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, it goes true for Clay and everybody else, but I mean, it's a very valid point that you brought up. Like he's going to have to run. That's the type of offense they run. And you can't play zone against Golden State. So I mean, I don't really much. It's gonna be very interesting to watch.
All right, so I want to move over to Boston, Miami. I'm going to make my bold prediction quick. I'll make it first. I'll lay it out there, and then you guys can dissect it and tell me I'm wrong. I don't mind. Boston in 6 is a lock. Right now, you can get Boston plus 125 on the series line. It's a lock. It's a stone cold lead pipe lock. Boston wins this series. They lost game 1 so predictably. No Marcus Smart, no Al Horford off of a game 7 high. They have to travel down to Miami with 1 day in between. They're going to lose game 1. It's going to happen. Miami had to win that game. Miami got to sit at home. They were there Saturday morning, and they got to sit there until Tuesday night when they had to play. Boston had to play a game 7 versus Milwaukee and Giannis. They have 2 players injured. They had to travel down to Miami Tuesday morning or Monday night and then play a game at Miami versus a rest at Miami team. That will not happen in game 2. Boston wins game 2 because they looked like the better team the first half of game 1, and then their legs got just a little bit weaker. It just is what it is. That third quarter was dominant. And yes, Miami did a lot of really good things in that third quarter. But with that being said, Boston is clearly the better team and the better team everywhere. With Marcus Smart playing, you're going to run into the same issue with Jimmy Butler. You have 3 guys you can run at him. You got a lengthy guy with Tatum. You got Jaylen Brown. You got Marcus Smart. And you also have Grant Williams. You have 4 guys you can run at him. I think that the Boston Celtics are going to win games 2, 3, 4, lose game 5 in Miami, and come back and win in blowout fashion in game 6. Boston wins the series. It'll be Boston versus the Currys. I'm kidding. Boston versus Golden State. And you can mark that down. Take it to your bookie now. I haven't thrown bets on games in a while. I'm betting that series. Plus 125, thank you. You can have my money. I'll take Boston plus 125 for the series. Game 1 was so predictable to me that they would lose the game. There's just too much on Boston. You're going to get Horford back in game 3. He's going to stretch Adebayo out. Adebayo's going to have to guard him in the corner, shooting threes like Milwaukee had to. It's just too much. Boston's too deep. There's too many good players on that team. Boston wins that series. Tatum versus Curry, and it will be a great NBA Finals, East Coast, West Coast. Your thoughts?
I mean, I think you're not putting enough stock into game 1. I do think that the Celtics, obviously they looked good in the first half. I think a big part of that, though, was PJ Tucker was in the locker room for most of the first half as well. Once he came back, Miami got to throw out a different look in the second half, and their defense just looked so much better. They had people in passing lanes, and when you switch off from Jimmy Butler to PJ Tucker to Bam Adebayo, like you have just these guys that can defend pretty much everywhere, and they play great team defense. Not to mention Coach Spo and his adjustments. He makes all the adjustments that you absolutely need to win games. So I think the Heat win this series, and I think they win it in 6. I think they go into Boston and they book a trip to the finals on Boston's home court. And I just think Jimmy Butler is showing again he's playoff Jimmy. When the lights get bright, he doesn't run from it. He gets to his highest point and he just plays his best basketball. So I like the Heat to win this series.
I actually would prefer what you said to happen. If I lose my $150 that I put on, I'll be okay with that. I would prefer Miami to win. I will be rooting for Miami to win. Jimmy Butler, I love him. I would love Miami to win the NBA Finals. It's not going to happen. It's not going to. Listen to me. I'm telling you, Cottrell, it's not going to happen.
You got a rookie coach on the other sidelines, man. He didn't make the adjustments.
Ime Udoka has showed you, dude, they swept Brooklyn. They beat the defending world champions. Bro, don't disrespect Ime Udoka. He's done amazing.
Nobody's disrespecting him,
out coaching Steve Nash
when
the Nets aren't what they're supposed to be. I give him credit for winning that series, beating a shorthanded Milwaukee team without Chris Middleton. I'll give him credit for that. Going up against this Miami Heat team at full strength with Eric Spoelstra on the other sideline is a whole different ball game. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, Bill.
I mean, I agree with all that. I think the Miami's a different beast. I don't like getting into like Cinderella stories or the fate or that stuff too much. But Jimmy Butler has that look right now. Chip on Jimmy Butler's shoulder right now is enormous. He wins a championship somehow. He puts a lot of things about him to rest. All the moving from different teams, him being a cancer, this and that. Goes out and wins a team where they brought him in and said, "You're the guy we're going to build around." He goes and wins a championship. That gets rid of a lot of things for Jimmy Butler. Plus, it gives him a ring, and he's playing that way. His play is of that hunger and that attitude right now. We say it all the time. He's a dog, man, and that's he's a dog with a bite, and he's a dog with fight, and he's got heart. He's definitely not the best player in the series, but he's playing that way. I mean, he outplayed Jason Tatum game one. Tatum is definitely good enough where he's going to have better games than Jimmy Butler. I just like the way the Miami Heat are playing. They're playing just as tough as Boston. I think they have the guys to get it done. I'm going Miami Heat in 7.
Okay. I love being on my island. My island works out really well for me a lot. So I'm telling you right now, if you bet sports, take the Celtics, sprinkle it on them to win it in Game 6. I think that's the most likely outcome. Brandon Fitzer says, someone send Rachel Nichols to Miami to lock down Jimmy Butler. Love it. Love the comment. Guys, I feel like you'll know at the end of Game 2 when Boston beats them in Miami by 17. You'll be like, oh, shit. This team's different. And, like, you talk about Jimmy. You talk about Jimmy being a dog. The Celtics have 3 of them. Marcus Smart's a dog and didn't play Game 1. Marcus Smart is a dog. Defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart.
PJ Tucker's also a dog, if that's what we're going off of.
I'll take Jimmy Butler or Marcus Smart all day.
No, of course, but I'll take Tatum over Butler.
Tatum, I mean, Jimmy handed him his fucking lunch pail last night, so.
There's a lot to be said about.
No. I disagree with that, Bill.
There's a lot to be said about winning a Game 7 on your home court versus the defending champions and traveling the next day and having to play. You watched the game, Bill, right? Did you watch the game?
Yep.
Miami, who looked better in the first half? By a lot.
With PJ Tucker out.
It's okay.
Let's not forget that.
I understand
but you keep exactly. You keep saying that, but you leave that point out. But then you want to keep giving us Marcus Smart and Al Horford didn't play. So it's exactly the same. When PJ Tucker was back on the floor in the second half, Miami dominated. They dominated the second half,
bro.
So who was the better? Who was when they had their starting 5 on the court? Who was the better team?
Boston didn't have their starting 5 on the court.
I'm talking about last night.
They're missing 2 starters.
That's fair.
Boston was missing 2 starters.
Okay, but Horford's not playing tomorrow night. And Marcus Smart's nowhere near 100%. He's not 100%. He's not going to be 100% for this series. He's going to be playing.
I don't think Horford is the X factor that you're making him out to be, especially with Bam Adebayo on the other end. Bam can guard you from wherever you're at. Bam can guard any center from pretty much wherever they're at.
But moving Bam out of the paint is huge, especially for drivers like Jaylen Brown. Making him defend Horford's corner 3, it gives a lane to dunkers, the guys that drive the lane. That matters.
Miami does a great job of still collapsing their defense. It might not be Bam that's in there collapsing on them, but once you get at a certain point in the paint, once you get at a certain point in the paint, you're going to have 2 guys on you, and you're going to have to make a tough basketball play and make the right decision, or it's going to be a turnover.
Miami has one of the better defensive front courts you will ever watch in basketball. They got Bam Adebayo, PJ Tucker, and Jimmy Butler. I love that. I do. I just think that a backcourt matters, and you can't run out Gabe Vincent and Max Strus an entire series and beat Boston. You just can't do it.
Kyle Lowry's going to come back at some point, too.
Kyle Lowry's dead, bro. He's done. Listen, I love Kyle Lowry.
I don't disagree with you.
Stinks.
I don't disagree
with you.
Kyle
Lowry should be in the fucking G League right now, bro. He's terrible. Kyle Lowry with 0 for 5 with 0 points. Kyle Lowry versus the 76ers backcourt. That Kyle Lowry, he stinks. Kyle Lowry had a great career. He's done. I don't think he scores another 8 points in the entire playoffs. I'm dead serious. I watch. I love Kyle Lowry.
I don't know how much he's going to play.
I love Kyle Lowry.
He's playing on one leg, so I mean, I don't know what the point of even putting him out there right now is.
Agreed. And if Max Strus is hitting threes, you don't put him out there.
No.
And Gabe Vincent's playing better defense than Kyle Lowry is at 37 years old, period.
Gabe Vincent has been playing good basketball.
Decent basketball. But let's be fair.
For what he is, he's been playing good basketball.
Good basketball versus Tyrese Maxey, who's 21 years old, and James Harden, who's lost 3 steps. Not good basketball versus Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart. I just think it's different.
Well, we'll
find out, obviously. The beauty of it is we'll find out.
Last night, you saw a lot of Peyton Pritchard, and I think, Boston's going to have to let
Boston can't play Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah. But Pritchard played well, though. Pritchard's a guy who can get you buckets, get you quick buckets if, Tatum and Brown aren't going or if they're on the bench. So Pritchard, I think he's earned his minutes. So you're going to see Pritchard on the court, too. So just got to win your matchup when you can.
Lowry just signed with the Big Three. There's breaking news. He's going to play against Allen Iverson. That's just literally what you need out of him at this point.
Play with Delonte West.
Oh, God. I love it. Okay. We knocked out an hour of basketball. We got the Preakness. We got the PGA. And we got the NFL schedule. You want to roulette wheel it, or what do you want to go with?
And baseball.
Dude, can we go hot stove right now?
Let's do baseball. Yeah, let's do it.
That made me actually excited. Let's go hot stove right now. I just threw Bill on the spot. He's getting his hot stove ready. I love it.
No, he's ready.
I'm ready.
Oh, okay. Let's go. Baseball. Move over.
All right, here we go. Number 1. How much you buying into the Yankees' early success this year? Are they now the best team in New York? And can they sustain it?
Absolutely not. They're not the best team in New York, and it's not close. The New York Metropolitans play fundamental baseball. They run, hit, they field, they do everything right. The New York Yankees have one starting pitcher. They're hitting the shit out of the ball, and that's great. But I'm telling you right now, no, the Mets are the best team in New York. It's not close.
And guess what? We see it every year with the New York Yankees. They start the season. Most of the time, they're healthy. It's not even June yet. They're going to have at least 3 of their starting 9 on the IL here shortly. So New York, and like you said, Gene, they have no pitching. They are not the best team in New York. And no, I don't think their success is sustainable. Maybe they sneak in as a wild card team. They're not winning that division.
Bill, what are your thoughts?
All right. I mean, health is big. I mean, Aaron Judge is leading the major leagues in home runs right now. You're sitting there with Stanton and Rizzo both have 10. They're tied for 3rd. They have 2 pitchers. I mean, they have Garrett Cole and Severino. I mean, I don't think that wins you a World Series by any means, but again, I mean, they the Mets had that streak, and then the Yankees went out and won 12 of 14. And they're they have a decent sized lead in that division right now. So I mean, again, baseball is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So sustainable. I have my doubts just for all the reasons you guys did. Aaron Judge is going to be in the DL at some point. Mike Stanton's going to be on the DL at some point. Somebody else will get hurt. Have it be Rizzo, Gallo, LeMahieu. Somebody else is going to get hurt. My only worry is there's a lot of big free agents this year that are going to be available at the trade deadline. I think the Yankees make a splash. So I'm not going to count them out yet. The big thing for me with the Mets is they are the more fundamental team. They will bunt. They'll hit behind people to score people. They're going to win more games in extra innings and late
games
games because they do the right thing, because they don't try to hit the ball over the fence. And that is what wins you World Series.
I'm shocked you went with Severino as their number 2. I would, and listen, I would give you a little bit more clout if you said that it was Nestor Cortez. Like, I would give you, and that kid's been pitching out of his mind. I just don't think he'll keep it up all year. But Severino's not Severino 3 years ago. He's not Severino 3.
Cortez has been lights out. I'm just saying, if the playoff series started tomorrow, they're going to pitch Severino game 2. I
trust
completely
Severino
agree with you.
more, just his experience.
Correct. I completely agree with you. Cortez. I mean, you could argue Cortez has been better than Cole. So
yes, so far.
But I'm gonna side slightly with the Mets still. I mean, we went over this last time we did Hot Stove. Uh, Jacob DeGrom went to the doctors yesterday, and everything is healing, on
July.
pace what they thought. So he's gonna start throwing soon. So you're gonna get the best pitcher in baseball back at some point too. So bad news for everybody else. Good news for Mets fans.
Next.
Um, how close will the Reds come to breaking the major league loss record,
I was hoping this was a question.
You start.
which is 120 games?
I don't think they're gonna get too close. I think they're gonna probably lose like 108, 110. I don't think they're gonna get. I think they finish within 10 games of it.
I think the Reds remind me so much of the Cleveland Indians in Major League but without having the movie dramatic ending. Like the owner wants to get rid of the team and like I don't think the dramatic ending will come out of it. I think the Reds stink and they have such poor ownership. I think they get pretty close. I think they'll lose 117, which is a lot.
That's a lot.
I know.
My number was 114. I like the 117 though. That means we'd be coming down the wire with we'd have record watch on ready to go.
That'd be fun.
It would be fun. They're terrible. The crazier thing is, you have 6 teams right now that are on pace to lose 100 games this year already. It's gonna be a wild Major League Baseball season. There's 2 or 3 teams already you can say are just done. Like, get ready for the trade deadline, and you're gonna be sellers. Like, and that's crazy to think a month into the season. Let's see what we've got next. First big name to be traded, and I'm gonna give you 2, and if you have another answer, you can. But I think the first person on this is going to get traded. So I'm going to let Gene go first on this one. Juan Soto or Xander Bogaerts?
I don't think either one of them get traded.
I strongly disagree.
I think Xander is out of there.
I think that would be the one if you're picking to. But why in the hell would Washington trade Juan Soto when you have a 23-year-old stud who's one of the best players in baseball? What else could you want to build around?
Because they're not going to pay him $450 million to be their cornerstone. Why?
He's a free agent after 2024.
Yeah.
So he's got 2 years under his belt. So I would get what you can for him now. I think teams are they would overbid for him. Not overbid because he's worth your franchise, really. So I think there's going to be a team that would offer it. Maybe he doesn't get moved this year, but I definitely think Washington will get rid of him before they have to lose him for nothing.
Xander, I think, is a done deal. They offered him that 1-year BS extension, which he said no, and then from his side, he pretty much broke off talks and is like, "I'm done with this. Like, I'm going to play. Whatever happens, happens." So I think if you're Boston, unless you're going to pony up and give him the extension that he's worth. I mean, he's 3rd in the league in hitting again this year. I don't think there's any shot he finishes the season on Boston.
See, they're
already falling out.
I would agree.
They're already falling out of the race. So
I would agree with you if Trevor Story wasn't such a failure, like I thought he would be. But I didn't have him on my list.
Yeah, but they're locked in. But they're locked in a Story. So there's nothing they can change there. They have to sign Devers as well, which is another issue. They're locked up for a bunch of money on Chris Sale still, and he can't even stay healthy. They're gonna have to make moves. I mean, I think they're gonna end up seeing a very similar situation with Bogaerts that you saw with Mookie Betts. They know they're not gonna be able to re-sign him. They don't want to get locked into more money long term. And their thinking is, as dumb as it sounds right now, is that they have Story that they can move over to shortstop. So
he's batting 205.
I think that's what. Listen, bro, I don't disagree with you. I think that's the way it's gonna end up happening. If you trade Juan Soto this year, to touch on the Soto thing, the haul that you would get knowing you're trading him somewhere where you have him for 2.5 years would be enormous. Washington is going to have to
be the biggest haul ever.
It would be, but I mean, again, if your team trading for him, you're getting a sure thing, and you can give up your top, 3 or 4 prospects for him because you're bringing somebody in that if you're a contending team, they absolutely make you a World Series contender right off the bat. As soon as he steps on the field for you, he's that good. So I think you could see it. Washington is going to have to rebuild at some point. And if you know for a fact that you can't get him under contract and he's going to be the guy to do it, at some point you have to think about trading him. I mean, Washington, Washington's in last place right now in the division. So
They're 12 and
they're
12 and 26.
Yeah, they're terrible. They're on pace to lose 100 games. I mean, he's already turned down $350 million.
And Soto has walked 3 more times tonight.
Yeah, they're just not pitching to him. There's no reason to pitch to him.
And they made it clear last year when they got rid of Trey and Max that they're not looking to compete right now. So I'm sure that rubs Juan the wrong way too. So I'm sure he's not happy with the franchise. I don't see how you can get that fixed in 2 seasons when you're not willing to spend money. So I think trading him while his value is the most high would make the most sense to me.
I want to can I add a hot stove question real quick just for fun? Tiny Tiny on the wire line said, "Why the hell did Cleveland change their name to the Guardians? What the heck is a Guardian? What a horrible name." So here's my hot stove question. Worst name, Guardians or Commies? The Commanders or Guardians?
I'm going to go with Guardians just because Commies isn't the real name of the team. So as much as I don't like Commanders, Commanders is different than Commies, but I like Commanders slightly over Guardians. Commanders at least makes sense with the area.
I will say that name-wise, I'll go with the Commanders. Logo-wise, the Guardians logo is horrible.
Horrible. Sorry, I needed to add that in. I wanted to shout out one of our listeners too. Thanks, Tiny. Go ahead, Bill.
Who's been the most disappointing team so far that had high expectations coming into the season?
That's a good question.
I listed a couple teams, but I'll see who you guys come up with. This one's easy for me, but
good try, God.
Oh, don't put me on the spot. I'm not ready. So far for me, I guess my answer would be Boston. I said I thought Boston was going to make the playoffs this year. They're right around the bottom of that division, so I'll go with Boston off the top of my head just because I expect them to be better this year, and they're just not there yet. And we saw it was kind of the same way last year. They started off slow and they were just bad, and then they got it together at a certain point. But right now, it's Boston for me.
I'll go with the defending World Series champs, the Atlanta Braves.
Both those teams are on my list. My answer for sure is the Atlanta Braves. They're in 4th place in the division. So, I mean, to put that in perspective, as bad and inconsistent the Phillies have been. The Miami Marlins are ahead of them, and the Mets are obviously just the class of the division right now and probably going to get better. So the Atlanta Braves are in a funk, and I've really thought once they got Acuna back with that lineup, they would get kick-started, and they're not. They're just not playing good baseball. So, I don't even want to blame it on the Freddie Freeman thing because Olsen's having a good season so far. So Atlanta Braves by far for me are the most disappointing. I'll flip the script on this one, though. Pretty much the opposite question. Which team has been the most surprising for you so far or ahead of expectations where you thought they'd be so far?
Both New York teams. I say that with a sense that I didn't expect them to be as good as they are right now. I think the Yankees is absurd to me. I would think that I picked them to be the 3rd best team in that division, and they're like 27 and 12. Ridiculous. I would go with the Yankees and the Mets. 27 and 9.
Mine would be the San Diego Padres. I thought the Mets and the Yankees were going to be somewhat good. I didn't think they'd come off as strong as they did, but the Padres starting off the year as hot as they have, I mean, they're right up there with the Dodgers for that NL West division. Manny Machado's having a hell of a season, and Padres got it going. They're looking like a scary team over there in the NL, so I'll go with the San Diego Padres.
The 20s have to be up there, too.
Told you to watch out for the 20s, bro. Told you. One thing I'm sticking to right now. So they
Bucks
were
staying healthy.
Yeah, Bucks are staying healthy. Carlos Correa has been a dud, but they're getting him back. So, a lot of trade rumors around him as well because they brought their can't remember the kid's name, but their number 1 prospect's a shortstop, and they brought him up, and he played pretty well when Correa was out. So, interesting moves there. Last one I got for you. So now we got to move on to the other things. One preseason
Who was your
prediction
team?
for that one? I had
Yeah.
either Minnesota or the Angels. I thought the Angels would kind of creep around and be kind of in the wild card race and maybe sneak in at the end. The fact that they're tied for first in the division with Houston, with Ohtani not really doing anything crazy yet. I mean, he's got good RBIs numbers, but he's hitting 240, still pitching well, but he's not really into his groove yet. Trout's been amazing. Anthony Rendon's been terrible. So I think if you would have showed me their stats this far into the season, I didn't think they'd be tied for first, but they are. So, and Minnesota, like I said, I think Minnesota had all the pieces. Buxton's a big piece of that, staying healthy, getting Correa, and they can hit a little bit, and their pitching staff's underrated. So, definitely those two teams for me. My last one was, if you could change one preseason award prediction already this far into the season, which would it be? This one's easy.
MVP, National League.
Who did you originally pick?
Juan Soto. He can't win it. He can't win it with the situation he's in. So I would
going to walk 300 times.
That's the one I would change. I picked Trout in the AL. Bryce Harper.
Mine would probably be AL Cy Young. I don't know who I would change it to, but I'd get off Cole.
I mean,
it's actually funny. He's actually pitching well recently.
Pitch well tonight.
Yeah, but of the ones,
I
had,
out
I
rookie
like
of the year.
Yeah, our rookie is not doing very well either.
Yeah, Hunter Green is not going to win. He's
struggling. He's struggling.
I mean, I didn't realize that team was going to be that bad either. Listen, you watch a pitch.
He's still pitching bad. He's fun to watch, but he's not pitching good.
He's leaving too many balls in the middle of the plate. You can throw 100 if it's straight and thigh high; those guys will hit it. So it'll be for him. I think I'd have to go with Cottrell's boy and go to Chisholm. I think he's going to win it going away probably at the pace he's at now. So,
well, Bobby Wood Jr.
That's it. That's all.
I didn't expect him to be 215 batting average either, but
Royals fired their hitting coach, so maybe that'll get him going.
When you have a prospect like that hitting 215, yep, we're gonna fire
go.
you. We're not firing him, so
not firing him. Best thing they could do with him is leave him alone and just let him hit. He's a rookie. He's a 21-year-old kid. He's going to struggle for a reason. It's hard to do it.
I have a Preakness winner. Do you want to go to Preakness next and knock that out, and then we'll hit PGA, and then we'll finish with the NFL schedule?
Do whatever you want, sir.
I have a Preakness winner. I've already seen the race already. I know who's going to win.
Oh, wow. All right, cool. Let me write this down.
Exactly. Listen, it's kind of like the election. It's early voting. I already know what happens. Early voting at 7-2. I'll take them to win. I'll take early voting to win the race.
You got control.
I'm doubling down. Give me Epicenter.
Heavy favorite.
Yes, sir.
Doubling down. Ran good. Just didn't have enough in the tank. Rich Strike's not going to be in this race. It doesn't seem like at this point. Epicenter's going to have it.
Preakness Estates, Pimlico Park, Baltimore, Maryland. There's no Rich Strike. There's no ride from God this race. Center takes it home. This race is approximately 100 yards shorter than the Derby. The Derby was at length. Epicenter would be the Kentucky Derby winner. Epicenter's best horse in the race. Best speed, best overall. I think he gets redemption, wins the Preakness, goes on to the Belmont. My superfecta I'm taking, I'm going Epicenter, Secret Oath, Simplification, and early voting. Gene's favorite. I think he hits the board to finish out the superfecta.
He's going to win the race. I've seen it
already. My one thing is I feel like Rich Strike should be like an auto qualifier for this race. Like, how isn't he in there?
He's not running. He is our early qualifier. He's qualified.
He's not running. His trainers pulled him out. So here's the thing.
Oh, his trainers pulled him out.
One of the reasons it's so hard to win the Triple Crown is you have to race 3 times in 6 weeks. That's really tough on the horses. So most of these trainers have a schedule set up. Like, obviously, Rich Strike's schedule was not did not factor in saying, "Hey, we now have pressure to run.
We're going to win the Derby
because we won the Derby." So that threw everything for a loop. The one thing I'll give these guys credit for I don't think people realize how much money and time and love, are put into these horses to get them ready to race. You saw it after the Kentucky Derby. You know, they genuinely care about this horse, and even more so now for what it's done for them. That horse has changed their lives. Have it be money wise, fame, you know, all the different aspects of it. And they said he's not going to be ready. We're not going to put him in a bad situation. The Triple Crown's great. I get it all. I mean, the prestige of it. It's only been done like 8 or 9 times, but it's not fair to the horse. We don't want him to get hurt. God forbid, break a leg, heart attack, anything like that. We don't want to see him get hurt on the track. So we're just going to sit him. He'll come back for the Belmont. So I respect that, because a lot of these guys don't. They care about the money, and they'll put the horse out there, and they don't give two shits about it. And, they want him to win. So that's why he's not running this week. You'll see him back at the Belmont in 2 weeks, 2 weeks after this weekend. But that's why he's not racing. It's not a qualifying thing at all.
Fair enough.
I have 3 picks for the PGA. You
Oh,
PGA. I have 3.
all right. I got 4. I got my normal 4. So PGA, PGA Championship, defending champion Phil Mickelson, not there for obvious reasons. We've gone over it before. No need to say anymore. They're playing at Southern Hills Country Club, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Long course, fast course, dry course. Obviously, it's in the middle of freaking nowhere, or Oklahoma. So, even though it's called Southern Hills, it's not as hilly as, say, like the Masters. So that will be brought up in a second, because I'm sure we're going to say the man's name at some point here. But it's going to be a PGA setup. It's going to be tough. You miss fairways, you go in the rough, you're going to pay for it. It's not going to be like the Masters. So I will go over. I'll go over my 2 picks to win, and then I'll give you 2 long shots like I always do.
Bill, before you give us those, last time they held a major there, you know who won a championship?
No, I do not know that. I'm assuming. Is it Tiger?
Tiger Woods 2007 PGA Championship. Last time they held a major there. Just saying.
We'll get into him shortly.
You should make a bet at him, 85-1.
Yeah. Listen, I'll go over my thoughts on it real quick. It's going to be pretty similar to the Masters. I think if he makes the cut, I think it's a win for him this weekend. I know what his mentality is, and he says he's not going to enter unless he thinks he can win. I don't think it's realistic this week. I think the trip around the course and him walking it's going to be easier on his leg. I know he's in a little bit better shape. He said he feels stronger. The course is just way more brutal than Augusta's going to be. He hasn't played it as much. The mistakes that he made at Augusta that he got away with, it's going to be more penalizing here. I think he's either plus 140. Actually, no, he's minus 140, I think, to make the cut. So there's decent money there if you want to bet that. There's more golfers in the PGA, obviously, than the Masters. So the top 70 make the cut. So if you feel confident that he's going to be in the top 70 after Friday, you're getting decent odds, if you want to throw it in a parlay or something like that, if you think he's going to make the cut. I don't think he's going to contend. I think it's going to be supposed to be really hot there this weekend. I think that's going to wear on him. I just don't think he's ready. I love that he's playing. It's good for golf. I think he's got a decent shot to make the cut. I don't think he's in contention at any point, though. So I will go with my 2 picks. Number 1, this is my number 1 overall pick to win the tournament. I'm going with Justin Thomas. He's starting to trend in the right direction. He's won a PGA before. It's one of his majors. Southern Hills is a course where you have to be able to get up and down and chip. And he has one of the best short games in the world. So if Justin Thomas putts well, he's a great ball striker. I'll go with Justin Thomas. My second one's Roy McIlroy. I usually pick him on the opposite way of this. I usually pick him when he's playing crappy going into majors. This year, his last 2 starts have both been top 5s, plus a second at Augusta. So maybe if the reverse jinx works, Rory's my second pick. My 2 long shots, I'm going with Will Zalatoris. He won on this course when he was 17. He's familiar with it. He still lives in the Midwest. He plays it a lot. I think he's got a decent shot. He's got the length. He's a good ball striker. Remains to be seen if he can putt well enough. And then my other long shot, I'm going to go with Gene's line of thinking. The thing that makes this course very tough is it's always windy. It's in the middle of nowhere. Even though it's in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, it's very windy there. always windy conditions, the wind swirls, which is tough on these guys. It doesn't really continually come out of one direction. You need people from Europe that play well in the wind. Not going Tyrell Hatton, Gene, but I'm going Matthew Fitzpatrick. Plus 4,800. I think he's got a shot to hit the board. So those are my 4 picks for the PGA Championship.
I'll never go with Hatton again after the way he fell apart when I picked him last time. I have 3. I don't know. You can consider them all long shots. They're all over 2,000. I don't have anybody in any of the favorites. But 2 of them are in the 2,000, so I won't consider them long shots. My long shot to win the race, I'll go with him first because I think it's a long shot. I would sprinkle a little bit. I got $20 on Corey Connors at 65 to 1. I think that's a little ridiculous that he's getting 65 to 1.
Love it.
The second one I'm going with is 24 to 1. You know what? I'm going to go with the one I think is going to win the race last.
On a race, of course.
Of course, sorry. Patrick Cantley, I have him at plus 2,100. I like him in this tournament. I picked him in the Masters too. But I like Patrick Cantley here. Plus 2,100 I think is really good odds. But the person think even my sneeze wanted to do. The person I think that's going to win the entire tournament is Victor Hovland. I love him. I love him right here at 24 to 1. I really do. Give me Victor.
The good thing about Victor is, I'm not sure if you know this, he went to Oklahoma State. He's probably played this course more than anybody in the tournament. I went back and forth between Victor Hovland and Zalatoris for my first long shot. So I low-key love all 3 of your picks, Gene. Corey Connors will win a major at some point in his career. I truly believe that.
I'm following golf now, guys. You got to be. And what's the name of the tournament that we're picking right now? What is it? It's the PGA. It's the PGA.
Gene trying to cash in his casual card.
Damn right. Bro, I've been watching. I've actually been watching.
I got one winner for you. And it's a name that's already been said. Rory McIlroy is winning this tournament. He's playing golf at a high level. I don't know why he couldn't play like that for the rest of the Masters tournament, but he seems like he's got it going in the right direction now. He's going to go out this weekend and get himself another PGA championship.
Rory
Patrick
puts
Patrick Kelly says
force
DJ.
and the Masters together. This is over. What'd you say?
Patrick Kelly says DJ.
PK. Here's the thing with DJ, dude. I love
31
DJ. I love watching him play.
31 to 1 odds.
DJ's a guy that could be playing great, and he'll go and lay a dud, and then he's another one. He's like Koepka. He can come in playing like dog shit, and then Saturday he's winning by 4 strokes, and you're like, oh, this is just over. This is the way it's going to be.
Your boy Brooks is 50 to 1, bro. Shocked you didn't go with him.
They're going to change dramatically. Well, dude, he pulled out last week for some reason. It hasn't been addressed yet. So, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. He's playing, so he says he's healthy. He said it had nothing to do with health. So I don't know. I'm laying off Brooks this week. Burned me too much.
Fair.
Meathead pulled out today, though. He withdrew.
I seen that.
No Meathead.
I wasn't picking him. I wasn't picking him regardless. Let's get in the NFL schedule real quick. I just want to get your favorite games. Your first opinion of the schedule. Your favorite games. You can give me a hometown or two. I don't mind if it's something you're looking forward to. I know one game I'm really looking forward to. I'll start with that one, and then we'll go around the horn. I have obviously 2 more.
Yep, I got 3.
This is gonna sound so absurd. One of the games I'm really looking forward to is Doug Peterson's return. I like Jacksonville and Philly. I love that game. Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson. It sounds like an ugly game, but I don't care, man. I want to see that.
Sunshine.
I want to see it.
Sunshine. I'll get my homer one out of the pick. I'm gonna go week 9. That might be the loudest you're ever gonna hear that stadium boo. Week 9, Washington Commanders come to town. That will be the return of Carson Wentz, the polarizing ex-Philadelphia Eagles quarterback. That will be a very interesting game. A lot of people are high on Washington. I mean, I'm not, but a lot of pundits and people that get paid a lot of money to talk about the NFL are. They think they're the sleeper team in the East. So I don't see it, but uh, that's going to be a very interesting game for obvious reasons.
I'm not looking forward to that game at all.
Why?
I'm just not. I don't want to root it.
Uh,
I have to root against Carson Wentz. He's a Washington Commander now.
Right.
I have to not like him. I not looking forward to that.
That was one of the 3 games that I had. I knew one of you guys would say it, but that was one of them on my list. Since we're going with the hometown team, I'll go with the one. There's 2 that I'm looking forward to. Both of them are NFC South matchups. Browns are playing Tampa Bay later in the season. The one I'm really looking forward to, though, is the Browns play the Saints at home on Christmas Eve. I think that'll be a really fun matchup to see, especially I know I'll be around my family watching it. Christmas Eve game with the Saints playing. Of course, you guys know my boy Dylan plays for the Saints, so that'll just be a fun game all around to see.
is it going to be harder for you this year that you're home now and watching the Browns not make the playoffs?
Browns are making the playoffs, man. Deshaun Watson's going on this Super Bowl run.
I'll say this.
Uh,
I feel like the schedule makers did the Eagles a few favors, but I also feel like they did us a few not favorites. And giving us a built-in loss to Dallas at Dallas on Christmas Eve drives me nuts. It's the 3rd game in a 3-game road trip, and I hate the fact that that game's versus Dallas on Christmas Eve. That's not what I want to do. It'd be sick watching the Eagles lose to Dallas on Christmas Eve. It's a built-in loss. That's what it is. When you play on the road 3 straight times, it's not easy in the NFL. I hate that.
No, it's not. And then traveling for the holidays, it's tough. No, I agree. I mean, there's a couple teams that did a lot of favorites for to get back to that. I mean, the 2 glaring things that stand out to me is
Pittsburgh.
They said Buffalo. Buffalo has the biggest net rest ratio in the league. They don't play one team this year coming off a bye. And then the super obvious one is the one Gene just mentioned. The Pittsburgh Steelers never leave the Eastern time zone for a football game this year. That is incredible that that's even possible. They are never traveling
To be fair,
out of the
though,
Eastern time zone.
they got screwed during the COVID year. So giving them a break for the following season, I'm okay with it. As much as I hate them, I'm good with it.
I have 2 more games I want to talk about real quick, and they both involve the Buffalo Bills. My Super Bowl prediction, my Super Bowl prediction of the Buffalo Bills winning the Super Bowl. There are 2 games I have to watch. One is Week 1, opening day. Buffalo Bills at Rams. The Rams have the best player on the defensive line, arguably the best player in the linebackers, and arguably the best player in the secondary. Aaron Donald, Bobby Wagner, Jalen Ramsey. It's going to be really fun to watch that versus Josh Allen Week 1. I actually think the Bills lose that game. It's a scheduled loss for me. I think that opening day for the Rams, they win the game. Just my opinion.
They get their rings on their home field. Von Miller's return.
But I'll tell you, the little boy in me, what did you do when it snowed? Hey, guys, you guys want to come out and play football? We played football. Every time it snowed. Let's go out and play football behind the school. You got 2 of the best snow quarterbacks you'll ever see. Aaron Rodgers at Josh Allen, Week 8. I wish it was Week 12. But in Buffalo, they're all cold, and I want to watch that game. Green Bay at Buffalo, just can't wait to see it.
I'll go with my my last one here. Cincinnati at and going to New Orleans to those LSU Tigers and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase returning to the Bayou, going up against the New Orleans Saints Week 6. I think that'll be a really fun game, especially seeing how many LSU guys you have in that game with Jarvis Landry and Tyrann Mathieu also being there. I think that'll be a game where you probably see a lot of former LSU players there and on the sidelines. I think that'll be a really fun game to watch, and I really, really much look forward to it.
Yeah, Bill, rattle some off for me. I know you got a bunch.
I only got a couple more. I mean, I had the Bills and the Rams. I mean, that's going to kick off the season Thursday night. I mean, that's going to be an amazing game. Anytime you give me Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady, sign me up. I'll watch it. That's week 4. I thought they had another great week 1 game. Denver Broncos are going to Seattle right off the bat, so Russell Wilson's going to go home right away. I thought we'd warm up to that one a little bit, but apparently not. So that'll be very interesting. I think he'll get a very warm welcome there. But it's still
Better.
I mean, to go back and face, yeah, better. But to face your old team week 1 is kind of crazy. The only other 2 that I have that weren't mentioned, I think week 18 you have 2 enormous matchups. You Chargers at Broncos. That's most likely probably going to be for a playoff spot. And you got the Baltimore Ravens versus Cincinnati Bengals. That is probably that very well could be to see who wins the NFC North or AFC North. So depending on how everything else shakes out. So you will
kind of getting into the one comment that you said on the Broncos at Seattle, Russell Wilson going home. I think that game would be a lot more fun if Baker Mayfield was starting for Seattle.
Yeah. Trade Baker to Seattle.
I just don't want to see Drew Lock versus. I just don't. I don't.
Drew Lock, obviously, but that to some degree makes it more interesting, though. I mean, because he's facing his former team too. So, listen, I don't think Baker's going anywhere until they get clarification what's going on with Deshaun. So, I mean,
Baker's not playing another snap for the Browns. It doesn't matter what's going on with Deshaun.
That's a fact. That's why they signed. That's why they signed
Jacoby Brissett and Josh Dobbs.
So,
I mean, nobody gives a shit about Josh Dobbs. Let's just be honest with that. But
I mean, he's just going to be the backup until Deshaun's back. You know,
Baker Mayfield has a better chance of playing more snaps than Josh Dobbs does.
I don't think Baker Mayfield's playing for.
I disagree.
I mean, we'll see. I just think I think both sides are posturing. I think if Deshaun gets whacked with a 6th game, I don't think they're prepared to play the first 6 weeks of the season and possibly get in a hole with Jacoby Brissett. I just don't.
We're gonna get Bo Callahan out of here as soon as possible.
Let's get into you. Got to be kidding me. Stars off control.
Callahan.
I surprisingly enough, for the first time in a long time, I actually don't have one this week. Just all the disappointments in the NBA playoffs. I guess I'll go with Chris Paul just because I can. Chris Paul for failing me yet again in the playoffs.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah,
More
Charlie.
shade on Chris Paul. This one's kind of serious. I don't like doing serious ones, but I think it has to be addressed. I'm gonna go with Major League Baseball yet again. So, if you're not familiar with what happened with the Los Angeles Angels, their pitcher Tyler Skaggs last year OD'd on a road trip from fentanyl and a couple other things through his system. He was getting drugs from one of the trainers, Eric Kay. He was found guilty a little while ago. He gets sentenced next week, I believe. My problem with this is not that. I mean, I think Eric Kay should be punished, and he's going to be. My problem is, just like the cheating scandal, Major League Baseball went ahead and gave Matt Harvey immunity to testify about what he was doing. And then only to come to find out, not only was he using, he was also giving drugs to guys in the locker room. So he was doing the same damn thing that this trainer was doing, including giving things to Tyler Skaggs during the course of his career when he was in Anaheim, which just continued to lead, and further his addiction. And they come down with a bullshit 60-game suspension today. And it's even more bullshit because Matt Harvey's not even in the majors right now for Baltimore. That's how bad his career's been. He's in the minor leagues pitching. And then the Major League Baseball, even on top of that, then agreed to count his minor league games that he's missed so far towards his suspension. So as usual, way to send the absolutely incorrect message to every other player in the major leagues. You testified for immunity, even though you were pretty much enabling somebody and contributing to his death. One guy's going to go to jail for probably 20 years, the next 20 years of his life, deservedly so. But Matt Harvey should as well. Maybe not 20 years, but there's no way in hell this guy should have got anything less than a permanent ban from baseball, and he should be brought up on charges as well. So yet again, Rob Manfred, the deciding people in Major League Baseball, you suck. So for this week, yet again.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Mine is really simple, and you guys might hate it, and that's okay. Mine's Patrick Beverly. And I will start. Listen,
I love this.
Pat Bev has gotten a lot of attention. He woke up at 5:30 in the morning to go on First Take to trash Chris Paul the day after Game 7. I think that you can see where the hate comes from, because the last time Pat Bev played against Chris Paul in a playoff game, Chris Paul hung 41 on him in a closeout game when the Suns beat the Clippers last year 130-103. I think it's absolutely – you see so many NBA players coming out and being like, what are you talking about, Pat Bev? He makes the comment of, when I go out – when I play Chris Paul, I go out and have a glass of wine the night before. I don't worry about him. Nobody's worried about Chris Paul. When I play Steph Curry, I'm in bed by 8 o'clock. No, don't call me. I'm ready for Steph Curry. Well, I mean, that'd be all fine and dandy, Pat Bev, if you weren't already eliminated from the playoffs. If you didn't get exposed last year and had 41 dropped on you in a 130-103 massacre versus the Suns in Game 6. I think that this is the definition of clout chasing. Pat Bev is looking for a career outside of basketball at this point. Going on these shows, talking all this smack that he's talking. JJ Redick called him out. Danny Green, Dame Lillard. Then he takes a clap back at Dame Lillard. Numerous NBA players across the entire league have been calling out Patrick Beverley for his comments about Chris Paul. Pat Beverley then went on another show and talked about where it all started with him and Chris Paul. He said he played him at a LeBron James camp and that he buried him. I buried him. I handed him. Well, Pat Bev, Chris Paul is a top 5 all-time point guard. He's a bona fide Hall of Famer. He's an NBA, all-NBA player. You're a rotational backup point guard for most teams and a starting point guard that averages 7 points a game. I think you should keep your mouth shut. So for that reason, this week, Pat Bev.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Any comments on why you
No
gotta
hate
be
for
kidding
me.
me? Okay, just
No hate for me on that one. I'm good with your Pat Bev hate. I just thought it was funny and I thought it was entertaining. Some stuff I actually somewhat agree with him on, but he definitely, you could tell it was very personal with that statement.
100%.
It's personal, and again, he was, to Gene's point, he was looking for hot takes and sound bites, and that's what he was after there. I mean, he succeeded. I will say
That's
this,
the part
though,
I disagree on, though. Honestly, I don't think it was hot takes. I think he truly believes that. Like everything he said, I think he truly believes, like, in his own messed up mind.
He also said the Sixers should give James Harden a super duper max. Whatever's higher than the super max contract, he should give James Harden. So if you think he believes all the bullshit that's coming out of his mouth, exactly, that's my point.
That's his buddy.
It's
he
personal.
believes it.
It's not.
But
It's bullshit.
Yeah, everything's personal.
That.
Yep.
All right. So, any final comments, guys?
No.
I have one. I want to send a happy birthday wishes out to my godson, J.R. Kaler, Ralph Thomas Kaler IV. Happy birthday. I'm sure you're not up watching this, but got to celebrate your birthday with you today. And just like I celebrated 6 years ago with you, your mom, and your dad at the hospital. So happy birthday, JR. And with that note, this is Wire2Wire Sports Podcast, signing out.